If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description. Additionally, if you would like to request novels and access my Google Drive where I have 200 plus audiobooks, then you can join my Patreon. Link is also provided in the description.
Chapter 1, Prologue. Girlfriends. Such an expensive thing both materially and mentally in this modern era. Let's say, when you wake up in the morning, you have to remind yourself that she exists. You have to text her. You have to plan a date. You have to listen to her nagging, which is a distraction. Some women even expect you to pay for their necessities, and I'm like, excuse me? I mean, seriously? That's just the tip of the iceberg and none of it sounds healthy at all. It's not that I hate women. I just prefer enjoying my life to the fullest without being controlled. Moreover, become young again in this new world is something I welcome. A fresh start. A clean slate. After finishing my bench press, I sat down and stared at the mirrored wall in front of me. There, reflected back, was the greatest of all time, me. Yet, no one could convince me to date someone in 100 years, even if she were a Kardashian. Suddenly, a familiar floating screen appeared in front of me, one that had been popping up for years now. To activate the system, please find a suitable partner you like. No. I refuse. Tell whoever sent you to fuck off. I don't need external help to be great. Are you sure about that? Hey? This is the first time the system has responded like that. It made me think about how far I've come, how much I've struggled without ever relying on this so-called system. After 5 years reborn to this world. Actually, my pride won't allow me to such thing like system trying to control me. Should I really give it a try now? Chapter 2. I woke up in the middle of a forest. My body feels heavy. My chest feels cramped as if there isn't enough oxygen. As I recall, I was driving my GTR at Nürburgring, but then the rain suddenly came during my hot lap. I kept pushing, and I hit the barrier. The car wasn't meant for racing, so my injuries probably led to my death. So, where am I now? What are these memories? With these foreign memories, I walk through the bamboo forest. As I step out of it, I find a road next to the rice fields. Finally, these memories lead me to a traditional Japanese house. An old man, who must be wearing a hakama, laughs. How's your training, grandson? I see you never skip cardio, hey. Hey? Alright. Ha ha ha. Alright, clean up first. Grandpa already prepared a hot tub for you. I still don't know what's going on. But I follow the flow naturally with these vague memories. Shortly after, I finish with the bath and start drying my body. Hold on, my body. Where's my gorgeous 6 ABS? Looking at this fatso me, I realize I've just woken up into a nightmare. December 2nd, 2007. As the cold chills my skin, I keep my pace steady with my current motivation. Huffed. 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 A month has passed. I've already come to terms with this new life. It's not a dream, so I need to move on since there's no way I survived that crash. The race crash that sent me to another world. For 30 days, I did nothing but ponder reality. However, I've decided it's time to knock it off and move on. Anyway. Make Mamun. That's my new name. Apparently, I reincarnated into a 10-year-old boy. I don't know what happened to this boy. Did he die while trying his best to change his overweight body? Poor kid. But as a man, it's not a bad ending. This kid had the mindset to change himself, with rage burning inside him. From his memories. This boy came from a well-off family. His father runs the Hayes Group, which plays a big part in Japan's hospitality industry. I thought I finally had a silver platter, but something happened between him and his family, and Mamun ended up living with his grandpa in Chiba. I mean, that's sad. Huffed. Huffed. Ha. After a long trip back home, I lie on the tatami floor inside my grandpa's house. Early this morning, I did hardcore cardio by running 10 kilometers. Now my legs numb as fuck. Don't laugh. It's hardcore for a 10-year-old boy like me, especially when I weigh 70 kilograms. If I don't get healthy, I'm going to die of cardiac arrest. Ha ha ha. Look at you, Mamun. I like how motivated you are, sweating a lot in the morning. I open my left eye to see a 62-year-old man. But he's not just any ordinary old man. My grandpa is ripped. I've never seen an old man like him, with that kind of stamina, looking more like he's in his 40s than 60s. Anyway, he's my grandpa, Makabe Hakiro. Yet. I say, looking at the ceiling, still catching my breath. Thanks. Keep it up. At this rate, you'll lose all that fat within a year, maybe. Haha. Just keep doing what you're doing now. Alright, I'll be back at dinner. I nod at him as I go back to my room to continue my work. Chapter 3, Chapter 2. It's dinner time. I'm preparing the usual meal for me and Grandpa. We're eating frozen food because neither of us is good at cooking. I'm not interested in learning because I believe in focusing on one specialty. I have to excel at one thing. The world needs specialists, not someone who can do everything. Being good at everything just makes you a generalist average. What kind of work does a 10-year-old like me do? Well, considering my previous job was in finance, I'll stick to my specialty. I've gone back in time. I have a plan to get rich by taking advantage of the upcoming Great Recession. One advantage, though, I'm too young to get a loan. I'm home, Mamun. Oh. Welcome back, Gramps. It smells good. Haha. It's nice having a grandson around the house. Haha, really funny. Anyway, tonight's carriage and miso soup. In this old Japanese house, we sit at the same low table on the tatami floor. But I can feel the mood is off. Mamun, I forgot to tell you your father gave me a lot of money. I'm planning to put it in a deposit for you to use when you're an adult. Did he give Gramps child support after kicking me out of the family? Can I ask how much he gave you? Gramps paused, trying to recall. He gave me a check for $1 million. Don't worry, Grandpa won't touch a cent of your money. Just relax, you've gone through a lot. I'll still provide proper meals and education for you. That's a lot of money. But I frown. It feels like my new father just wants me to stay quiet about being his son. I'm sorry, Mamun. Grandpa doesn't have the same influence or power as your father's family. It's not my place to say this, but I hope you understand your mother's situation too. I know you're smart enough to understand this. Even though she wanted to leave your father, if she did, neither of you would be able to see your little sister anymore. At least this way, your mother and sister can visit you without any problems. Hearing this, I recall some painful memories from Mamun's past. I sigh, I understand how the adult world works. Don't worry about it. I continue eating, and I can sense Grandpa smiling at me. Suddenly, I get curious about something. Gramps, what did you do for work? He hummed before smiling. I build race cars. Raising my eyebrow, I laugh. Really? What kind of cars? He laughed. Nothing serious. I only worked on the aerodynamic parts of Honda F1 cars. I stop eating and look at him in surprise. You're not joking, right? Look at this brat. Of course not. Though, Grandpa has a little problem right now. That's it. I know what I need to do. I don't have to worry about my age to get a loan. I can connect with wealthy people through Grandpa. I mean, I could use that $1 million for stocks, but that alone won't be enough. Mamun, since you're excited, isn't it about time you went back to school? No. School won't be a problem. Grandpa looked at me, bewildered. You brat. Not attending school is a big problem. How long do you plan to shut yourself in this house? Wait. Listen, listen. I'll go to school later, I promise. Oh. He stroked his jaw, raising an eyebrow at my half-hearted promise. Well, as long as you've promised, I suppose that's fine. I'm serious. Anyway, can I tag along to your workplace? He laughed. You're interested in my work now? Fine, fine. But Grandpa has to ask for permission first. It might take a while. That's fine, I said, my face turning serious. Grandpa paused as I continued. Actually, Grandpa, could you listen to me for a moment? Seeing how I asked, Gramps set down his chopsticks and straightened his back. Is this something important? Yes. I nodded. Over the past month, I've been getting into finance, studying it a lot. It might sound odd to others, but I believe you'll understand. In a few months, I think the world will be shaken by a great recession. His eyes widened. Mamun, Can you explain more? You've probably noticed that 2 years ago, the property market became uncontrollable, and just last year, prices started to rise too high. This world seems so similar to my old one. In 2006, housing began to decline, and by the following year, the bubble burst. Then issues with subprime mortgages led to the collapse of Lehman Brothers and the global financial crisis. About your concerns earlier, Grandpa, I know this season has been rough for Honda, right? Can I make a guess? It might sound rude, but I have to take the risk to convince him, especially if I want access to that $1 million now. He looked at me calmly and nodded, so I continued, did Honda decide to scrap next season's car and put everything into developing the 2009 car? My question seemed to shake him. Of course, I had done some quick research, and while there were a few differences, like Google being more popular just this year, it felt like I had just regressed to the past rather than being born into a completely different world. That's correct. But how does my grandson know such classified information? From no one. I just thought it made sense to focus on the car for the 2009 season, especially with the new regulations coming into play. But, Grandpa, like I said earlier, with the Great Recession ahead, it's likely that Honda will withdraw from competition after 2008. Grandpa seemed deep in thought. He looked at me, but it felt like he wasn't really seeing me. I should stop here. That's impressive, Mamun. I didn't know you had such talent before. Thank you. I'll consider this matter seriously. We might need more time to see if you're saying come true. Of course, he wouldn't take my words at face value. As he said, time would tell. And from his reaction, it seemed like Grandpa wasn't just designing the aero parts, he might be making key decisions at Honda. So, do you want to see what I've been working on? He asked, picking up his bowl of miso soup. Yes. But it's fine if it's not possible for me to visit. I don't want to disturb your work. No, it's all right. I'll show you later. Actually, Grandpa wanted to tell you something. We'll have to move out of this house. We're moving. Yes. He said with a smirk. I thought my grandson wasn't excited about race cars, but it seems I was wrong. Anyhow, Mamun, I think you should start learning English. As I finished my meal, I looked at him and said in English, that won't be a problem, Gramps. So, where are we going? He seemed a little surprised, then burst into laughter. You keep surprising me, you brat. You even got your mother's accent down. Well, we're going to. Chapter 4. It's been 2 weeks since Grandpa and I moved abroad. In that time, I've come to realize that Grandpa isn't just an old man, he's a talented engineer. Still, he's been having a rough season lately. I hope he didn't feel down after what I told him earlier, though he always laughs no matter the situation. Anyway, after sharing my information with him, he agreed to let me use the money my father gave him. He opened an account under his name so I could enter the stock market. Yeah, I'm still a minor, which is why we had to do it this way. However, he only gave me 70 grand, about 10 million yen. I don't mind. I just need to prove myself, and then he'll give me the remaining 930,000. In my room, I sat at my desk, staring at a computer straight out of 2007. How nostalgic. The internet is painfully slow compared to the last time I was alive. I couldn't help but smile, excited about the future and the prospect of becoming rich again. Knock. 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 Someone rapped on the wooden door as I was studying. Mamun, are you coming with me or not? Grandpa called. All right, all right. I quickly changed into my formal suit. But damn. Glancing at the mirror, I muttered, how the hell did I get this short and I'm so fat? I left my room and headed downstairs, where Gramps was already waiting for me. Now that's what a man should look like. Even though his hair has turned white, he isn't bald. His slick, shiny hair is combed back neatly, and he has a slight beard that complements his sharp jawline. For this occasion, he wore a black suit similar to mine, tailored to fit his ripped physique. Haha. You've still got work to do, young man. I clicked my tongue. Don't jinx it. We put on our winter coats and headed for the front door. As he opened it, the cold wind hit my face. It was 6 p.m., and snow was falling outside our 2-story Victorian house. We had moved to Oxford, England, because Grandpa is working for the Honda F1 team. He commutes from Oxford to Brackley and rarely comes home these days. But tonight, for the first time, he's bringing me along somewhere. Where are we going? I asked as Grandpa drove his 95 NSX. We're heading to his mansion on the outskirts of town. My friend invited me to his charity event. I hummed thoughtfully. So, you've got rich friends, huh? Are you sure you're just a mechanic? He chuckled. I am. As time passed, we finally arrived. I couldn't tell how many square meters it covered, but it was massive. It was essentially a mansion, or maybe even a manor. I didn't need to ask how rich Grandpa's friend was. After Grandpa introduced me to the people he was close with, he continued talking with them while I stood there, not sure what to do. He told me to look around, so why not? What? You expected me to socialize with these people? As I wandered around, I suddenly realized I'd gotten lost. Somehow, I ended up in a hall full of artwork. I passed a few staff members who paid me no mind, so I figured it was okay to explore. I found a bench and sat down, deciding to observe two paintings in front of me for no particular reason. Maybe 2 million. I hummed, trying to estimate their worth. The one on the left seemed to depict an underwater scene, while the one on the right showcased a large ship from the 18th century. How's it look? I turned my head to see a girl in a blue gown standing nearby. She had long blonde hair and blue eyes, and she seemed to be around my age. If she was asking me about the paintings, she was probably either the owner or the artist. It's good, I replied. She giggled. May I know which one you prefer? I glanced back at the paintings. Normally, I don't care much for art, but if I had to choose, I'd prefer the one on the right. Really? Ahem. I mean, could you elaborate why? Before I knew it, she had already sat beside me, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Where did this effect come from? I just prefer a ship carrying goods over a view of the sea, I said plainly. She hummed, unimpressed. Isn't that a bit shallow? I expected more, considering how closely you were observing. Sorry, I'm no art enthusiast. But I could give you a few thoughts on modern art. She smiled, stifling a laugh. Then you're definitely in the wrong place, there's no modern art here. I chuckled. So, you're saying modern art is garbage? Oh ho ho, I never said that. For your information, she pointed at the left painting, unlike the right one, the one on the left actually won an award. So, I guess you were just being so honest for being clueless about art. Well, I wasn't going to argue with that. Let me guess, the one on the right is yours, isn't it? That's correct. She suddenly stood up. Thanks for the little break. She then walked a few steps, then stopped in front of me. Nice to meet you. I'm Rita. She extended her hand in a teasing manner. I stood up and took her hand. Nice to meet you. I'm Mamun. Oh dear, so you're Japanese? Did you grow up here? No, I just arrived 2 weeks ago. By the way, could you show me the way back to the charity event? So you're my guest this whole time? I thought you were one of our employees or something. But there's no way our butler would hire someone so young. My smile twitched at her princess-like attitude. Never mind. I think I remember the way. I started to walk past her, but the brat grabbed my shoulder. Wait a minute. I'm really sorry. Don't be mad. How about we become friends, Mamun? I sighed. Thanks for the offer, I'll think about it. I gently removed her hand from my shoulder. So cold. I was going to invite you to our atelier. I'm not interested in a tea party at your place, miss. It's not a tea party. I was just saying you could come study art with us. Humph. She crossed her arms and pouted. Well, good for you. Now, if you'll excuse me. Mamun, can you wait here? I need to visit the bathroom and fix my hair. I sighed and sat back down. All right. Don't take long. She lifted her skirt slightly as she ran down the hall. I gulped, hoping she wouldn't trip and knock over one of the priceless pieces of art. Should I just bail? Nah, it's not like I have anything better to do. I glanced back at the painting Rita had mentioned, the one depicting the view under the sea. Honestly, with a little more observation, this painting is drawing me in. It's better than I thought. Maybe. I was wrong. Stroking my jaw, I crossed my arms and hummed, feeling a sudden dizziness as I stared at the artwork. Thank you. I jumped, startled. How dare someone interrupt me when I was on the verge of some great enlightenment? Excuse me, miss. The girl tilted her head, looking either completely innocent or clueless. Thank you, it's my drawing, she said. Okay. Hey, what color do you want to be? She asked suddenly. I beg your pardon. What color do you want to be? She repeated the question instead of explaining. I sighed, feeling like she'd lifted that line from somewhere. Judging by her eccentricity, it seemed likely she was the one who had painted this. What color do I want to be? Maybe, gray. Why? I think gray is a color that can blend with anything. It's adaptable, like me. I see. We fell into silence, just staring at each other. Neither of us seemed inclined to break it. I turned back to the painting, thinking about how I'd imagined the artist would be an old man with white hair, or maybe a sophisticated woman, definitely not a kid my age like Rita, but with an entirely different personality. I turned to see her looking slightly spaced out. And what about you? Me? Maybe, white. White. Good for you. Thank you. I wasn't complimenting you. You weren't. This was exhausting. I should have left instead of waiting for that brat to finish her hair. Sorry for making you wait, Masamu Mashiro. Rita's voice made me turn. She had finally finished whatever she was doing with her hair, and it still looked exactly the same. I was about to leave. Thank God she stopped me, I muttered. Aira, that's not very gentlemanly, is it? Rita teased as she approached, then paused, looking at the other girl. Mashiro? I thought you didn't like social events. I don't, Mashiro replied curtly before glancing at me. Mamun, HM. I like your name. Rita cleared her throat. Right, our new atelier member. Girl, I never said I'd join you. You didn't. And just like that, I'd met these two at someone else's charity event. Chapter 5. June 4, 2008. It's been about 6 months since the charity event. The cheeky princess, Rita Ainsworth, is actually the granddaughter of the host, who turns out to be a friend of my grandfather. Rita comes from a noble lineage. Of course, that title means nothing in this modern era, except for the fact that she claims she often meets the queen herself. To put it simply, her family is rich, and she's literally a princess. Meanwhile, Mashiro Shina, the eccentric girl, is a genius painter. Rita also self-proclaimed that she's her rival. She comes from a family with an art background, which explains her talent. Speaking of her, she's quarter Japanese. Shortly after, the two of them never left me alone for the next few months while I lived in England. We went to the same school. I mean, this is just a small town with around 100k people, not even close to Chiba in comparison. Both of you. This is my room. Have you thought about how dangerous it is to come into a boy's room? This is Grandpa's house. Stop nagging, Masamun, and be a gentleman. You wouldn't let two girls get soaked from the rain, right? Well, yes, he is my grandpa. Moreover, using the rain as an excuse is irrelevant when you can call your chauffeur to pick you up from school really makes sense. I glared at Rita as she just tee-hee at me and continued to draw something on my bed, smacking her feet on it. Masamun. As I sat on my chair, I looked at Mashiro standing there like an idiot. We came to play. She said plainly. All right. Suit yourselves. After the white cat, Mashiro, got my permission, she started to find her comfort spot in the room and dra. You little. Don't start stripping off your clothes. Kya? Mashiro. What the? You pervert. Cover your eyes. The last thing I saw was Rita glaring at me before a pillow landed on my face. That girl. Someone has to teach her common sense, or she'll get in trouble. Just what I expected from a painting genius. Thank God I am now a minor. Or else, I'd get arrested. I turned back to my computer. Yet. Let's not get distracted by these British brats because I'm busy, with my money. The stocks I've been buying are booming now. Grandpa finally gave in and gave me the remaining $1 million. With my knowledge, it's a piece of cake. Not to brag, but my investments are now worth around $32 million. He smells like good money. Mamun. Stop giggling like a creep, would you? Should I remind you that this is my house? It was then that I heard footsteps, and Rita's head peeked from my right as she hummed. What are you doing? Making money. Okay, so when will you start learning to paint with me, I mean us? I'll consider it. I paused, if I care. What? When will you consider it seriously? You come to our atelier, but all you do is read books and stare at your laptop. Okay, let's do it right away aft. I'm still gathering motivation because I don't want to be rejected and end up joining the army. What a ridiculous reason. HMMMPH. I could see her pouting cheeks on the monitor. I'll teach Mamun how to draw, came a sudden voice from my left. Like I told you both, I'm not interested. But Mamun likes my painting. What? You said you liked mine better than Mashiro's. It's true. Mamun told me at the event. Rita moved so she could see my face directly. Hey, care to clarify that? You told me you liked my painting, and now I find out you changed your mind? Why am I just hearing this now? I like both of you. Confessing your love means nothing. And how dare you say it to both of us? Do you think you're handsome? Put it in context, you little. I meant your paintings. Who'd want to date a brat like you? Brat. I'm not a brat. Just you wait, Mamun. When I'm grown up a little more, you'll kneel before my beauty. I rolled my eyes. Mamun, do you like me? Mashiro asked. I'm talking about your painting, Mashiro. So, you don't like me? Rita hummed, quirking her brows, seemingly waiting for my answer. I like you both as friends. Let's be reasonable. I just wanted to say that so we could stay in the friend zone. There's no way I see them in a romantic way. Besides, I'm not into romance. What a wimp, Rita giggled. Just admit you're acting hard to get. Well, I am. Ugh. That ridiculous confidence. Where does it even come from? I sighed and hummed at the same time. I turned around in my office chair and looked at them. More accurately, I was staring at the floating screen in front of me. Hey, you two. Can I ask you something? They both paused, then reacted together. What? I sighed. Can you see something floating right in front of you? Would you like to see your potential partner rating? Again. Partner? Potential? You mean these two? Fuck. I'm not a pedo. Anyway. What just happened to me? I've been seeing things like this ever since I met these two. I'm not going crazy, right? Seeing what? Rita asked, while Mashiro just stared at me more intensely than usual. Nothing. What is it? Tell me. I asked something I shouldn't have. Rita kept digging for an answer, while Mashiro put her palm on my head. It's cold. Another side of her. She suddenly wanted to nurse me and cook something, and yet, it turned into a disaster. To make sure I was fine, they decided to stay over at my house for the next 2 days. Chapter 6. It had been 2 days since I asked them about the screen. As school ended, I slung my bag over my shoulder and walked out of the classroom. The hallway opened up before me. It was more like a grand mansion than a school. The private institution I attended was a little exclusive, catering to a minority community. Initially, I was supposed to go to a regular folks school, but Rita's grandpa took a liking to me. With a powerhouse like the Ainsworth family backing me, getting into this school was easy. As I strolled down the hall, I spotted 2 girls, one with blonde hair and blue eyes and the other with paler blonde hair and striking red eyes. Upon seeing me, Rita hissed, crossing her arms. Why did you keep the girls waiting for so long? Sorry. I chuckled. My classroom is far. Now why aren't we in the same class? Rita hummed, maybe you filled an empty seat? Speaking of which, why don't you have any male friends? Male sounds weird without context. Well. I remembered how the boys here didn't like me once they discovered I was just a normal peasant who lucky enough to attend this school. To be truth. They were jealous that I got along with the school's Madonna. It's not worth worrying about. We'll become strangers anyway. Rita giggled. Kehi, what a hopeless loner. Mamun. Mashiro turned to me, her eyes half closed. Let's have the same class. We can't decide that. Why? Asked the teacher. Understood. No. Don't do that please. I held her shoulder tightly as she prepared to walk away. She seemed to take everything literally. The three of us headed to the parking area. I didn't have anyone picking me up, but my house was only a 17-minute by foot. Another things. My investments were going well. I had made $690,000 in just 2 days. These past 6 months, I had eaten less and moved more. I was working on my weight, but losing it was harder than I thought. I hadn't taken it too seriously, but at least I was consistent. I had lost 9 kilograms, but I was still somewhat overweight somehow. Still, my height is growing too. Mamun. If you felt lonely, you can sleep at my house if you want, Mashiro suggested. Mashiro. You're making it sound weird. Ahem. Well, I don't mind if it's my house. Your grandpa seems to be out, though. On the other hand, my grandpa wants to see you again. Want to come? We stopped beside a black Royce as a man in a suit opened the back seat door. Maybe later. I mean, my grandpa is here. I pointed my finger somewhere. They turned to look at the man with white hair and the company he brought with him. Keek, what's up with that disappointed face? I teased. I'm not disappointed. Riden's face turned red. Then, can I stay at your house? Mashiro asked. I sighed and turned to Mashiro. No, you're not. Ask your parents first. Wait, Mamun. Actually, there's someone who wants to meet you, Rita said. Who? I asked. Actually, it's my friend who wants to be your friend. He said you're cool. Keek, honestly, I'm confused. Kayak. Don't pinch my cheek. Hello, someone said from the back. We turned to see a guy with blue eyes and blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. That's him, Rita said. So, it's really a guy. I thought it would be a girl, considering I had never met a dude who used third person to ask for permission to be friends. You must be Mamun Makabe. I've really wanted to get to know you, but it's hard to get in touch when you seem uninterested in joining any school clubs. He spoke in a polite, friendly manner. This guy actually, I overheard the girls in my class that he's popular. I hummed. Actually, I'm part of this girl's modern art group. I pointed at Rita next to me. She shot me the side-eye glare. It's contemporary art, you donkey. Ha ha ha. The guy laughed. You both are really close. Right, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Charles Lawyer. You can call me Charles, Mamun. So, there was a guy joining our group. Still, why Gramps with his friends here? Third POV. In his eyes, Makabe Hakiro believed his grandson was not as worthless as his father claimed. Mamun, at his age, didn't have the mindset to prove anything to anyone. However, he was different. He had it. A few months ago, Mamun had shared information that, at first, seemed laughable. How does this kid know something like this is going to happen? In his office at the Honda F1 headquarters in Berkeley, UK, Hakiro wondered aloud. He had just received word from Tokyo that there was a possibility Honda might walk out of the highest level of motorsport. If Mamun hadn't informed him beforehand, he might have reacted differently. Hakiro had begun to believe in his grandson's words after witnessing his genius in finance. Had he invented a new investment formula? After all, within just 6 months, Mamun had amassed an amount of money that Hakiro could only dream of accumulating in his lifetime. This month alone, he had around $32 million in his account. Worthless? Minoru will regret everything he said to him. Today, Hakiro found it hard to focus on his work. What was he supposed to continue? The car chassis he had prepared for 2009 might now be useless since the team could be leaving. Knock. Knock. Come in. The door opened to reveal his colleagues, Ross Braun, the current principal of Honda F1, and Nick Fry, the current CEO. Both were close friends outside of work. Sitting at the table, Ross got straight to the point. So, we're going to be unemployed soon. Hakiro sighed. Probably. The team has already invested a lot for 2009 while abandoning this season. They'll have to dry up more funds to lay off the factory, Nick pointed out. Even if they haven't made an official statement yet, we won't be able to do anything except wait for something magical to happen. Even as Honda's right hand here, I guess you can't change their minds, can you? Hakiro didn't respond to Ross right away. He seemed to doze off, a stark contrast to his usual character. I know someone who might be able to help the team's situation. Both Ross and Nick gasped at this. However, I need to give you a heads up before we meet him. It might sound absurd and irresponsible. Hakiro continued. Is the person hard to approach? No, it's fine. As long as it's for the team, I think both Braun and I are on the same boat about this. Stubborn, Hakiro thought. He guessed the CEO had efficient time management. Alright then. Coincidentally, I need to pick him up at 3. If you both are fine with that. When they arrived at the parking area of the mansion that had been converted into a private school in Oxfordshire, Ross and Nick looked at the kid who appeared to be around 11 years old. Why are you here with Uncle Ross and Uncle Nick? Mamun, sorry for doubting you. But you were right. Chapter 7. Third POV. He couldn't be joking, could he? The person Hakiro mentioned was his grandson. Ross and Nick had expected some well-known engineer or a hidden genius millionaire, yet here stood a mere kid. How could he possibly help the team's situation? However, when it came to work, Hakiro never joked around. It was better for both of them to keep their thoughts to themselves. So, Honda has decided it. Mamun initiated the conversation, startling both men. It was impossible, only key figures like them and Honda executives knew this information. Their meeting had just concluded 2 hours ago. Correct. Mamun told me the exact situation that would happen. Now it's happening, so we'd like to consult with you if you have more information or a potential solution. Hakiro's words left them more confused than ever. Shouldn't you have told these gentlemen beforehand? Mamun asked. Right. Hakiro then explained everything to Ross and Nick. At first, they had been skeptical, but now they understood why Hakiro had wanted to brief them first. Wow, that's... Ross struggled to contain his amazement, it all seemed too ridiculous. How old is he again? He should be 11 in October. An 11-year-old who predicted the team's situation, and he was also a millionaire. When you first brought him to the factory, I had no idea Mamun was this much of a genius. Mate, it scares me, his genius really scares me. As they exchanged comments, Mamun returned with 3 cups of coffee and a glass of milk for himself. Hey, lad, are you interested in becoming a driver? Ross asked unexpectedly. Mamun shook his head slowly. I don't think I have the dedication to become one, but I'm interested in the finance world and I even enjoy it now. But, I enjoy motorsport too. But why not? It's not too late to start karting. You have someone like your grandpa backing you up at Honda. Seeing the 2 uncles so excited, Mamun couldn't help but laugh inside. The truth was, he hadn't yet overcome the trauma of his past life. After all, he had died in a racing incident. He had trusted too much in his driving skills and had ended up crashing into a barrier. As the chit-chat concluded, they shifted to serious discussion. Hearing the situation, Mamun thought it wasn't too late. He didn't remember much about his grandpa name, Makabe Hakiro, from his past. But Ross Braun and Nick Fry were crucial staff members leading the 2009 season. Ross Braun, in particular, was the most important figure. When Honda decided to exit the competition after the Great Recession of 2008, Ross had bought the Honda F1 team, continuing with a new team, Braun GP. He had taken what Honda had for 2009 and, with the little budget they had, led the team to victory over the likes of Red Bull, and ultimately winning the championship. There's nothing we can do to make Honda stay on the grid, Mamun said. If the whole team wanted to, you could just buy the team resources from Honda. Nick, hearing this, smiled slightly optimistic for a kid, but as CEO, it sounded ridiculous. That might sound simple, but a Formula One team is worth at least £800 million, minimum. I don't think that's practical. I'm saying not now. There'll come a moment when they decide to give the whole team away for £1. I can tell you that the situation in the future will be more chaotic than it is today. How are you so sure that will happen? Is there an indicator? Mamun smiled brightly. The indicator? Let's just say my instinct tells me so. He kept it simple, to which make it more ridiculous for them. If a crisis arises, they will give you the team. However, in exchange, the new owner will have to handle the problems they left behind, the debt and hundreds of employees. But if you're all willing to fight, why not? Let's say we take over the team? Then what? We'll most likely be running the team without fuel. Ross Braun asked the question. Well, I can't give you my thoughts more than this, unless I'm part of the team. Look at this kid. The adults appreciated the boy's guts. But, something felt odd about the atmosphere around him. It didn't match his age. Minutes ago, they had been chatting with a kid, but now it felt like they were conversing with an ambitious businessman. What do you want, Mamun? Hakiro asked. In a calm tone, Mamun replied, what I want, you've got to continue working for the team. If you don't, then I don't want to be part of this project. Hakiro paused, holding his breath for a moment. Earlier, he had thought about retiring and returning to Japan with his grandson. He realized it wouldn't be good for Mamun to be alone all the time. After all, he technically didn't have a parent now. Mamun continued, it's fine. I just want you to help the team in the early stages before the pre-season test, and you can decide afterward, after Melbourne. Hakiro looked at him, finding the idea reasonable in a way. It seemed a shame to stop when he was already preparing the chassis. What do you want me to do? For instance, Mamun gulped down his milk in one go. I don't want to be involved in the team's technical and management decisions, however, it's not hurt to listen to me at some point, it might be somehow useful. Then, I want to be informed about key factors regarding the car development and how we adapt to new regulations. Secondly, the most important thing I want my grandpa to be a shareholder in this new team. Hold on, lad. Ross interrupted him, how far is your understanding of this? Mamun hummed. Quite far, I guess. Looking at him, they realized this kid wouldn't elaborate any further. For now, I think it's best to buy the team as soon as possible. Trying to negotiate with them now is better than at the end. It's better to have more time for developing the car, right? Seeing this kid act like an adult made them think, were kids these days this scary? Chapter 8. September 1, 2008. It's been 3 months. Grandpa successfully convinced Honda to sell the team. Just like in my previous life, the team was bought for a single pound. A new team has been established, and it seems like fate. They decided to keep the name, I just say, why not Braun GP? I decide I'll keep that name here too. Also, I checked the names inside the team, and they're the same people who made the winning team. As I mentioned before, Grandpa is now one of the 4 shareholders of the team, holding about 33%. The Honda team will continue until the end of the season, after which it will transition to the new one. When the news spread, it was shocking when they decided to exit F1 a month ago, but it makes sense now. Just today, the stock market crashed, and I suspect Lehman Brothers will go bankrupt after this. But thankfully, Honda didn't have to spend too much money before the situation worsened. After all, they seems listen to Grandpa. About the engine we're using is from Mercedes, with a budget of around $100 million Honda left. Does that budget make sense? Not really. But thankfully, we managed to secure our first sponsor, Ainsworth Holding. That's right, Rita's grandpa decided to invest $12 million in us. Now, it's just a waiting game until the new regulations are released next month. September 7, 2008. A week has passed. Work is going well, and the summer break has ended as a new academic year begins in autumn. I'm now in the same class as my friends, and I'm glad to see everyone again. I've gotten to know the newcomer, Charles. He's a gentleman, easygoing and chill, quite different from the other boys at school. I've learned that he's actually a childhood friend of Rita and Mashiro. Their families seem to have strong ties, which makes me think they must be involved in business together. Sigh, such a lucky bastard, while my father has all but erased me from our family tree. Today, we have PE class, and since there are 4 classes, we're all joining together. The subject is teamwork, so the teacher has decided it's football day. Listen up, lads! The coach shouts at us. Today we're going to have a good game for our first semester. Before we warm up, make 2 teams. You can choose your own teammates. Everyone rushes off to form teams as the coach finishes his line. Mamun, let's be on the same team, Charles says as he approaches me with a friendly tone. Let's go. We gather our team, and after warming up, we start the friendly match. The football pitch is the size of an actual pitch, but the time is only 20 plus 20 minutes. Alright, guys, let's have a quick brief, Charles says, taking charge as the captain. Do we have any strategy for the game? Everyone hums in agreement, but then the bastard looks at me. Damn it. Mamun. I sigh as all eyes turn to me. Glancing at the opposing team, I see they're not focused on the game, they're just trying to impress the girls. Let's start with a solid defense and tire them out, I suggest. Everyone nods in agreement. Charles smiles, got it. We'll plan for counterattacks. As for team roles, we quickly decide on a 4-4-2 formation, with me as the sole forward and Charles as the attacking midfielder. The game kicks off as the coach blows the whistle. As I predicted, the opposing team aggressively attacks us in the first 5 minutes, obviously, driven by the girls' attention. But their pace has been slowing down. This is why we should avoid McRonald in young ages. 18 minutes into the game, I see one of our players intercept the ball. He quickly passes it to Charles, and I start running. Seeing me make a break, Charles sends a long pass my way. The ball lands just past the halfway line. With my stamina, which I've been working on since December, running like this is a piece of cake. Hurry! After him! As I run and dribble the ball with my right foot, no one can intercept me as they begin to tire. I notice the goalkeeper is out of position, running back as he thinks we won't attack. I chuckle and decide to take a shot from this distance. What? I mumble. I shoot with my right foot, sending the ball rocketing toward the goal. It curves slightly to the right and lands in the back of the net. I must have underestimated my cardio routine. The whistle blows, and suddenly someone smacks me from behind. That was awesome, Mamun. Charles cheers as everyone swarms around me. You pulled off a Beckham move there, mate. Alright, alright. Good job, boys. I say as everyone gathers back for the second half. Before the game resumes, I catch glares from the opposing team, mostly because the girls, especially Rita, are cheering for me. Shouldn't they be mad at Charles, who's getting the most attention from the girls? In the end, our team completely dominates, 6-0. I scored a hat trick, Charles scored twice, and a guy named David got one. Hey, I guess it's not bad, Mamun. You've been working hard the past few months, and this is your result, Rita said with a smirk. Thanks. Here's some Baumkuchen for you, Mamun. Before I could finish my sentence, Mashiro shoved a piece of cake into my mouth. Hee hee. Be grateful to receive a compliment from me, Rita added with laugh. Grateful my ass. What was that reaction? Thank you would be decent, you know. I hummed in response, then if you score a goal, I'll say at him, no. Let's say, I'll do anything. Rita and Mashiro gasped a little, exchanging glances. Understood, Mashiro replied, nodding earnestly. HMMPH, fine. It's not like I'm doing it for that. I'm just scoring because I'm good at sports, Rita insisted, though her expression said the opposite. Finally, I took a break as the girls turned to play, though they were only using half the pitch. Leaning against the side, I heard someone say, good game, Mamun. It was Charles, sitting beside me. Yeah, well played. Everyone did a good job too. Haha, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you like Rita? I turned my head to him, surprised. You mean, that? He nodded, looking a little embarrassed. Why yeah, something like, that thing. I hummed, already guessing his real intention. Charles must like Rita. Do kids this age really get attracted to the opposite sex already? How cute. I chuckled. Of course not. So, what are you going to do about it? Oh, really? That's a relief. I was a little concerned if you did. I laughed inside. There's no way. Even now, I'm about to turn 11 in October, but I'm mentally adult. Man inside a child body. Yeah, I am now a literally man-child. Anyway, the reason I get along with Rita and Mashiro is that they're friends. Being mentally older, I also see them like my cute nieces, even though I've never had one before. Nah, don't worry about it. Good luck. I'm rooting for you, Charles. For real? Man, you're the best buddy. Charles is still a pure boy. He likes Rita because he's innocent. Meanwhile, I have no way of feeling the same when I'm adult on the inside. Sure, I want this boy enjoy his childhood while he can. Hold up. I heard you're actually close with another girl, right? What's her name again? Ah, you mean Teresa? Well, she's my childhood friend, but we're not like that. This guy has so many childhood friends at the same school that I've lost count. Chapter 9, Chapter 8. It's still the same day, and it's lunchtime. I just finished helping the math teacher carry some notebooks. Walking through the hallway, I suddenly heard something familiar, the sound drifting through the ventilation. Katajikane. Kono shukin wa keshite wajiramasan. Did I just hear someone speaking Japanese? And so fluently, too? Curious, I decided to check it out, thinking it might be a transfer student. After all, I'm sure the voice doesn't belong to Mashiro, or Rita, who is still working on her Japanese. No. I forgot to press the shutter button. Now, I have to repeat the pose and say the whole line again. That voice belongs to a girl. And she switched to English really quickly. Anyway, I should greet her. Katajikane, hey? But when I finally saw her, I realized I was wrong. She wasn't Japanese. Things became awkward as we locked eyes. She was holding a rainbow-colored fan and do some kind of pose with it. Sorry. Please continue. Wait. She called out, but I was already heading back to my classroom. Weeb. A group of people obsessed with Japanese culture. In general, they have a bad reputation. But being Japanese myself now, I can't help but think back to how the term otaku has a similar negative image in Japan. So, internationally or domestically, they share the same stereotype. I might be called a hypocrite or biased, but in many cases, I just don't care. I'm not saying it's all bad, though. Not all weeb are losers. Some just enjoy watching anime and stop there, but because they like it, people often misunderstand them. The girl I met yesterday is one of those people commonly labeled as a weeb. To my right, the same girl kept glancing at me. My classroom seating was arranged on the first day of the semester, and the girl next to me was the one I had mistaken for Japanese because of how fluent she was. As soon as I saw her doing her hobby, I apologized and walked away. Now, sometimes she looks at me, like at the moment, with a face that says, "Let's talk." But it's not intimidating, it seems more like she's embarrassed. She hasn't said anything yet, but as soon as lunch break starts. Shhhh. She stood up quickly, her chair scraping the floor in a hurry. Ahem. I looked up, meeting her hazel eyes. CCA, can we talk somewhere? I paused, noticing Rita raising an eyebrow at me from across the room. I sighed, okay. The girl with the blonde ponytail nodded shyly. I'll wait for you at the same place as yesterday. She ran off quickly, instantly making a scene in the classroom. Did you see that? Whoa. I think she's going to confess, right? It's a confession. Damn it. I was really enjoying my peaceful NPC-like school days, and now I'm about to get dragged into some romantic comedy. Mamun. Charles suddenly placed a hand on my shoulder. Please don't hurt her feelings. She's a kind-hearted girl. I sighed, brushing his hand away. It's not like that. The girl, Teresa Wagner, is someone Charles is close to. I don't know much about her since we've never talked before. Soon, I reached the meeting spot. About yesterday, you know. She stammered, her face turning red. I've been getting tutored in Japanese, and my tutor wanted me to make that video. It's for learning purposes, okay? It's not like I like Rainbow Shogun or anything. I just used it as a reference for studying. I see. Her expression told me the opposite. She's definitely one of those weebs who won't admit they like anime. I understand. Your secret's safe with me. I promise I won't tell anyone. Hearing that, she let out a relieved sigh. Thank you so much. I won't forget this debt. She exclaimed, then quickly went quiet. My guess is she just quoted something from an anime she watched. I think it's partially my fault too, I said. I mistook you for Japanese because of how fluent you are. Her eyes lit up. Really? Am I that good? Why yet? You're Masamune Makabe, right? You transferred here from Japan last year. I nodded. Something like that. Then, if you don't mind, can we be friends? I also have some questions that have been keeping me up at night. Sure. Go ahead. Are you Rainbow Shogun? No, I'm not. Chapter 10, Chapter 9. Recently, Teresa and I have somehow become friends. The reason is simple, she wants to talk about Japan and keeps asking me questions about it. It's lunchtime, and she's sitting across from me, a seat that actually belongs to someone else. So, you don't eat ramen every day? Of course not. Why? Because, it's not healthy. What? I thought it was a healthy soup that warms the body. Teresa is a true weeb. She's obsessed with Japan, everything related to it. Luckily, I can answer all her questions thanks to Mamun's memories. At the moment, I'm eating my diet food that I packed from home, while she's eating something she bought from the cafeteria, fish and chips. Without turning my head, I sigh, is that red-haired girl your friend or something? Red head? Oh, you mean Alec? Yeah, she's my my friend. She almost slipped, but I already know who she is. She must be her servant, keeping an eye on her at school. But she's just a kid. Do people really employ underage brats without the government knowing it? I wouldn't expect any less from a high-class family. Still, Rita has been quiet since I started talking with Teresa. Also, she's been avoiding me in a way. Mashiro seems to be doing the same. Mamun. Oh? Mashiro suddenly stops beside my desk, looking at me with an unimpressed expression. Idiot, she mutters before walking to her seat. Teresa looks at me, seeking an explanation, then smile awkwardly. Ahaha. She didn't really mean it, right, Mamun? Teresa seems to be trying to console me, telling me not to take it to heart. But nah, Mashiro just being Mashiro. Don't mind it, I sigh. Oh, by the way, can you see something floating in front of me? Would you like to see your potential partner rating? The dating system is really trying to hook me up with an elementary school student. How disgusting. Floating? Oh. A mosquito. I got it. Clap. Hooray. I took care of it. Teresa tilts her head slightly, smiling after swatting the poor mosquito. It seems I'm the only one who can see the floating screen. Dash. In the middle of class, I excused myself to take care of something not a big deal, I just needed to go to the men's restroom. As I was standing at the urinal, I thought, I forgot about that promise I made. So, that's the reason. Those spoiled brats geek. They're really attention seekers, hey? I mean, she could have just told me, hey, I scored the goal, but instead, she waited for me. How amusing. Hey. The voice startled me out of my thoughts. I still had my dick out, so naturally, I was shocked to hear a girl's voice in the men's room. Are you blind? This is the men's restroom, I said. Our eyes met. She stared at me firmly as I hurried to tuck my junior away. To be fair, I was just minding my own business, and she barged in here. Your name is Mamun, right? She asked. Ignoring her question, I moved to the sink to wash my hands. My reflection caught my attention. I've lost quite a bit of weight, but I still feel fat. I've gone from 70 kilograms to 59,3 since December, but I estimate it'll take another year to completely shed the fat. Once that's done, I can start bulking up. Don't judge me, getting in shape takes patience, commitment, sheer will, and money. Most people don't have the first three. For now, I'll stick with my cardio routine and basic calisthenics. Oi! I'm talking to you. Are you deaf? Still focused on the mirror, I saw her approaching me. You goddamn right, I muttered. Then, glancing at her, I asked, quick guess. You're here because of Teresa. Precisely correct, she said, adding emphasis to make it sound really important. Would you like to see your potential partner rating? The annoying floating screen popped up again. It always shows up when I interact with women, but not with those I've already talked to. I still ignore it though. I glanced at the door. Something felt off. No one else had entered the room. No one will come in or leave. I put up a "Do not enter" sign, and I locked the door so you can't escape. Now tell me. She trailed off. I smirked. You gonna ask if I bleed? You got it, I'd bleed. She ignored my joke and continued, what's your intention in getting close to your hind, I mean, my friend? Her face turned a bit red. Was she that angry, or did she just slip up? Oh, she's that red-haired girl always hanging out with Teresa. Alexandra Marguerite. So, Teresa is some kind of royalty? I've never heard of a Teresa in the British royal family, though. Oi! Answer me. Chill. I don't have one. We became friends by accident. I didn't even know she was royalty. Liar. And I never said she was royalty. I narrowed my eyes, humming as her gaze faltered. It was clear who had spilled Teresa's secret. I'm not forcing you to believe me. But, using the men's restroom to interrogate me? That's a serious problem, miss. Don't change the topic. If you try to leave, I'll scream and we'll see how the teachers react. Hey! The audacity! But then, I smirked. What's so funny? And stop smirking at me. I tapped her shoulder and leaned close to her ear, whispering, you like Charles, don't you? I pulled back as she froze. What? What kind of question is that? Me? Lee like Charles? No way. I smirked even wider. Interesting reaction. You see, recently. I pulled out my 3G iPhone and opened the gallery. I took a picture of someone suspicious following Charles. Red hair, trying to stay hidden. That was you, right? Snap. What was that? She moved so fast. If she'd aimed for my neck, I'd be done for. Hey. She smiled. That wasn't me. You should try harder, boy. She handed my phone back, but I could tell the picture was gone. Did you think I didn't have a backup? You do. My backup has backups, and those backups have backups too. TCH. Sly bastard. Of course, I was bluffing. The picture was useless anyway, but she bought it. Keek. That's right, talk big when you're 10 steps ahead. For now. I patted her head as she gritted her teeth. Do me a favor, okay? Just become a good girl and stop coming to men's toilet. Such an easy girl. She has the speed of an assassin, but it was easy to extract information from her. Maybe she's young, but I've wild guess, she's been trained to be Teresa's bodyguard. It's strange, but I believe it. And if I refuse? I smiled as I walked past her. I'll leave that to your imagination. Ugh. That sounded so cringe. But thankfully, she bought my bluff. Chapter 11, Chapter 10. Mamun, see you later. Teresa waved at me with a warm smile. Later. I replied, watching her walk over to the red-haired girl. Our eyes met, and she gave me a small glare. But then, she seemed to behave herself when I just gave her a knowing smile. Right. After getting away from Alexandra, I remembered my promise to Rita. School was over, and most of my classmates had already left after the bell rang. I packed my books into my bag and walked over to her desk in the front row. Got a minute? She looked at me briefly before continuing to pack her things. What? She was either playing hard to get or just mad. What's with that face? Anyway, as promised, I'll do anything for you. She sighed. Took you long enough to remember that. She glanced up at me, clearly not happy. But before that, don't you have something to say to me? So, she was mad after all. Right. I'm sorry. Wrong. It's more important than an apology. She twisted her hair around her index finger, looking away. You know. She said softly, I worked really hard to score those goals. Seeing her blush, I finally got it. I chuckled. Pfft. There, good job. Even though she clearly wanted praise, she batted away my hand as I went to pat her head. Humph. I still haven't forgiven you though, ouch. Stop that. I pinched her cheek hard. Mamun. Turning slightly, I saw Mashiro standing there, her expression flat. I scored, too. I worked hard. Of course not, you little. You know the game is called football for a reason. You can't use your hands to score. Mashiro tilted her head. Can't I? You punk. That's why you got a red card in the first place. But I worked hard. Mashiro held out her hand, as if asking for a reward. I'll treat you to something later, okay? Understood. Tap, tap. Rita tapped my shoulder, and I turned to her. Mamun. Are you free tomorrow? Say, maybe for the entire week. Actually, I have to go to New York. I'm flying out on Friday, but I'm available for the next 6 days. What's up? I had to meet with potential sponsors, even though I didn't really want to return to Manhattan. That's plenty of time. Can you keep yourself free for the next 4 days? And by the way, it's part of my reward, so you have to, got it? She said with a smile. All right. I had my suspicions. Good. Be at my house tomorrow morning. Let's say 8 a.m.? Trying not to be late. See you later. Rita left with her bag. Bye-bye, Mamun, Mashiro said, following her. As they left, I felt a pang of regret. Why did I promise that? Nah. What's done is done, I guess. Time to head home. Bong. Now, as I prepared to leave the school, it started raining. Of course, I forgot my umbrella. Rita and the others were probably already gone. Damn, the sky was clear just a minute ago though. Yo Mamun. I sat on a nearby sofa by the entrance, and Charles greeted me. You stuck here too? Yeah, I had something to do in the club room. By the way, are you sure you're not interested in joining our club? He asked, sitting next to me. Nah, sorry, Charles. Football isn't really my thing. Haha, I get it. Your grandpa's an F1 engineer, after all. But if you ever change your mind, just let me know. Sure, thanks. There was a brief silence between us. Actually, can I ask your advice on something? It's about Rita, isn't it? Haha, you got me. Yeah, I was wondering if I stand a chance if I ask her out. Maybe. Just ask her, man. Don't be a wimp. It was amusing to see him so nervous. Well, he was just entering his puberty phase. As a responsible adult, I had to guide him properly. It's easy for you to say, Mamun. Just thinking about it makes me nervous. Besides, I'm planning to ask her to dance with me at her birthday party before I ask her out. So, basically, Charles wanted to gauge his chances before making a move. Pretty smart. He was trying to minimize his risk. Hold on. Birthday party? Yeah, don't tell me she didn't invite you. As I blink he gave me a pity look. Ahem. Maybe she will send it to you by herself. Still, here take a look first. The party's on Tuesday. Charles pulled a fancy envelope from his bag. The party was still 4 days away, but just by looking at and feeling the quality of the envelope, it was clear this was going to be a huge event. Now that I think about it, Rita had told me to come tomorrow. Saturday morning. A few days earlier, Gramps had left for Monza, so I was on my own. When I stepped out of the house, there was already a Rolls-Royce parked in the front. My neighbors surely green in envy. But there's no need to be jealous, it wasn't mine. As I settled into the back seat, I couldn't help but feel sleepy. This car was just too comfortable. Still, the real question on my mind was, what is she scheming? It had been bugging me since yesterday. When I arrived at her grandpa's manor. Pfft! Rita amused, a mischievous giggle coming out, her hand coyly covering her mouth. Ah ha ha ha, oh my gosh, this is too much. I've been seeing this since I was little, but it looks great on you, Mamun. So, this is your plan? Forcing a stoic smile. I trying to keep my nerves in check. You did say anything, didn't you? Oops, how smart, and I've come with this genius idea. That's right, Mamun. For the next 4 days, you'll be my butler. I finally understood why she hadn't invited me like she did Charles. This little princess had me wearing a butler suit and planned to have me working my butt off for free over the next 4 days. Chapter 12, Chapter 11. Somewhere in Ainsworth Manor, a boy around 11 years old, standing at 160 centimeters, dressed in a black suit with a bow tie at his collar, was pouring tea into a cup. That boy? Me. Across from me, a rich young lady giggled, clearly pleased with the scene. Pfft, are you sure? Why not just agree to it? You heard the sum of money Grandpa offered, didn't you? Shut it, Rita. What did you say? Should I remind you of your position? You're my butler, so act with proper manners. Now, Repeat after me. Rita grinned, savoring the moment. My apologies, my lady. I sighed. My apologies, my lady. She nodded, her face beaming with satisfaction. Apology accepted. Now, pour me some more tea. She wasn't wrong. I had promised I'd do anything as her reward, without giving any specifics. As a man of pride, I don't break agreements. It was my own fault for underestimating this brat and forgetting that she wasn't just any rich young lady. 2 days had passed, and my job as Rita's personal butler continued. The first 2 days were exhausting. Most of the time, I just followed Rita around, sticking to her schedule. I learned that being a butler basically means doing chores elegantly like American Psycho. This morning, I woke up in the manor again. I'd slept here before, but every time I did, I couldn't help but feel how rich I become, mentally. The manor was grand, but honestly, I preferred modern housing over this old-school luxury. Yawn. Knock. Knock. It was 5 a.m., and someone was already knocking on my door. Opening it, I found an irritated Rita standing there. Rita? What do you want? Aren't you my butler? She asked, tapping her foot impatiently. Don't me. Aren't you supposed to be waking me up? She said, reminding me of the absurd schedule she had given me. Oh. Right. Good morning, my lady. How was your sleep? But don't you need more sleep? I smirked as I ruffled her hair. You bastard. I'm your mistress. Stop teasing me. Okay. What's next? Let me check. I walked to my desk, grabbed the schedule, and read, at 5 a.m., wake up the lady and brush her hair. Prepare her breakfast. You're old enough to brush your own hair though. Why do you need a butler for that? It really takes me back when I still 12-month-old, I went to the bathroom by myself, I sigh, tch. Kids these days. Hey? Who want to listen to that ridiculous story? Just do your job. She handed me a comb and sat on my messy bed. Hurry up, brush my hair. I hummed and started brushing her long, blonde hair. Grandpa says you're some kind of genius, right? So why are you so bad at using a horse? She asked, not holding back her amusement. Not everyone can afford a horse, genius. Makes sense. But why are you bad at basic things like cutting an onion? I'm not Gordon Ramsay. Hey? You don't need Gordon Ramsay skills to cut an onion, Mamun. True, I hate it because it makes my eyes sweat. Why so weak? Because of you, I ended up cooking by myself. Do I really need an incompetent butler? Good call, my lady. Calling me lady, you really hate this, hey? You should be grateful, spending time with a gorgeous beauty like me is priceless. You. But maybe I'll call you that when you're older. She stood up suddenly, looking at me with a mix of curiosity and amusement. Really? Then she smiled shyly. Will you wait for me? A soft blush crossed her face. Just kidding, I'm still beautiful without your validation. Her confidence returned in full force. Well, I think I agree with that, my lady. You are indeed beautiful. She blushed even deeper, her body language betraying her. That. Ahem. I mean, of course I am. Finally, you recognize it, Mamun. Not that I care. It's just, so corny. Despite her words, I could tell she was pleased. After brushing her hair, she decided to spend some time studying, while I went for a jog around the manor park. After a shower and a quick review of my work, I had breakfast with Rita before heading to school at 8 a.m. Normally, she'd pick up Mashiro on the way, but she was still in Paris for her painting exhibit. So, when I stepped out of Rita's car at school parking lot, I immediately felt the stares. Some students were curious, others, mostly the guys, were glaring. Chapter 13, Chapter 12. Time passed until lunch break. Mamun. Let's have lunch together. Teresa appeared, carrying a lunchbox. Sure. She set her lunch on my desk, dragging a chair beside me. Moments later. Mind if I join? She asked sweetly, though her mood. Of course. Teresa, clueless about it and still welcomed her. Oh dear, thank you, she then setting her own lunch down with a sharp smile. What a day, there's still an empty place here, said Charles. So there I was, Teresa on my right, Rita in front of me, and soon, Charles sat on my left. Is it just me, or does Rita and Mamun have the exact same lunch? Teresa asked innocently. That's right, Charles added, looking at me expectantly. Crap! How could I forget that Charles liked Rita? He'd already asked me for advice, and now, my lunch was an exact copy of Rita's. Ooh, actually, Mamun cooked it for me, Rita said, stabbing at the grilled salmon, mercilessly. It's obviously his cooking. Just look at the burnt side. Ungrateful brat. It's grilled salmon for a reason. It's not even overcooked. Sigh, poor salmon, she teased with a smile. Teresa, trying to keep things calm, asked, you two aren't dating, are you? Hearing Teresa, Rita, Charles and I froze for a second. Pfft. Pua ha ha ha. Me with him. Rita laughed. There's no way. He made my lunch because he's working at my house. Working? Charles asked, his attention now fully on me. I sighed. I'm helping her family. Be more specific, Mamun. It's an order, Rita added, her teasing tone in full effect. I'm working part-time as a butler for the Ainsworth family. Both Teresa and Charles looked impressed. Mamun in a butler suit? Can I see it? Teresa's eyes sparkled. Or do you wear a hakama and carry a katana around the house? No. Just a suit. This weeb needs to stop pushing her fantasies on me. Interesting. Want to work at my house too? Charles asked. No. Mamun will stay at my house. Teresa quickly interjected. There's even a tatami room for you. And just like that, my lunch turned into a part-time job war offer between my rich friends. Do I look that poor? I'm pretty sure I earn more than these brats combine. Ack. Charles and Teresa looked at me. You little. Under the table, Rita had stomped on my foot. She dared to put on a sweet smile after that. My apologies, but Mamun is bound by contract, so he can't work for anyone else at the moment, isn't that right? She pressed harder. You little, of course, my lady. This girl. I swear. Dash. At the end of the school day, the sky was a dull grey, and the gentle drizzle pattered softly on the umbrella I held. Walking beside me, under the same umbrella, was Rita, her steps quiet as we headed to the parking lot where her chauffeur waited. Why the long face? I asked, noticing how she seemed a bit distant, lost in her own thoughts. Earlier. I'm sorry for being rude, Mamun, she said softly. Just that? You can apologize to Teresa later, I replied with a grin. Well, your step was more ticklish than painful, so I'm fine. Really? She asked, her voice betraying a hint of concern. Of course, I lied. She had stepped squarely on my toe, and it hurt like hell. But the physical pain wasn't a big deal. What was more interesting was seeing her admit something like that. It was rare for Rita to let her guard down. Keek. What, are you feeling that bad about it? Seeing you like this, maybe I am hurt somewhere, I teased, trying to lighten the mood. Rita shot me a sideways glance, her expression a mix of irritation and embarrassment. It's your fault too. What? How is this my fault? Suddenly, she stopped walking, making me halt as well. I couldn't see her face clearly since I was taller, but her head was slightly bowed, and her cheeks were unmistakably flushed. Today, you're still my butler, she said, her voice quieter than usual. So, I just wanted you to pay more attention to me than to anyone else. I blinked. Was she asking me to act like her butler even at school too? Anyway. Who was this brat? Just now, normally, she would never show this kind of personality. Chapter 14, Chapter 13. Mamun, can I ask you for help? The next day, after school ends, Charles comes to me, his face serious. Sure. What's up with the face, though? Ahaha. Sorry, I just got nervous all of a sudden. I nod and head somewhere else. Today, Rita didn't come to school because of a family issue, but I still needed to come as promised, since my job as a butler ends tomorrow morning. There's a bench with a view of the football field that I occasionally sit on to hear Charles talk about his struggles. I'm going to ask her to dance with me, he says, and I remember that tonight is Rita's birthday party. Good for you. So, do you want me to take care of that? Hearing this guy really tickles me. It's like a kid the next door asking me how to ask a girl out. As an adult myself, of course, I don't feel any sense of competition over it. In the first place, I got along with them because I'm technically a kid. However, I don't see my friends as romantic interests. Obviously, because our mental ages are quite different. Yet, actually, you don't have to do anything. I just wanted to tell you so I'd feel less nervous. I chuckle. Stop talking like a chick. Just face it like a man, whatever the outcome. Don't worry, I'm still the Ainsworth household butler. There's no way she'd dance with a man dressed in a butler's uniform, right? Charles laughs. I guess she wouldn't. I realize something. Maybe being a butler at her birthday party isn't so bad after all. Dash. I just got back from school. Ainsworth Manor has been busy. All the employees look like they're running throughout the hallway. After all, today is Rita's birthday, the 14th of September. The manor is preparing for the party this evening. Though my job is Rita's butler, I didn't help with the event at all. But in the days before, I helped Rita as her dance practice partner. Rich people sure are different. They don't just want to go to McDonald's and call it a day. Well, this just shows how much her grandpa cares for her. In the classic interior, I sat opposite the man who has always taken care of Rita in her parents' absence, James Ainsworth. How is Rita in your care, Mamun? She's fine. I haven't changed anything. She's still the Rita you've always known, sir. I see, that's good to hear. So, why not work for me from now on? I smiled at him. I appreciate the offer, but I must respectfully decline. He suddenly laughed. When he stopped, he looked at me, sharpening his eyes as if testing me. But I didn't feel nervous. I stared back at him. What does Hakiro feed you? He sighed, then leaned back in his chair. Just as you said before, this month, the stock market is crashing around the world. Lehman Brothers fell, and I think the recession is coming near. Sure, you've won, Mamun. He said with a chuckle. I never thought I'd lose to a green youngster like you. And that's why I really should invest in talent like yours. I smiled slightly. Actually, I've been meaning to talk about that. But right now isn't the best time, Rita's birthday party and all. Ha 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 ha. You're right. Let's talk business somewhere else, young man. As I was enjoying the conversation, suddenly someone slammed the door open. Mr. James and I stood up as we saw Rita burst in with tears on her face. Seeing us, she ran toward us, her tears flowing even harder. I was frozen for a moment. Rita, who was always so headstrong, now appeared vulnerable in a way I had never seen before. Whatever had happened must have shaken her deeply. Rita. Dear, what's going? Hayek. Rita. Why did you jump straight to me and walk past your grandpa? He came for her, arms open, but this brat ignored him and chose me instead. Shit. 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 I can see his emotionless face already, he's dead on the inside. Sniff. Sniff. I thought Dad and Mommy would come to my birthday if I went to meet them. But they won't come. Today, Rita skipped school to meet her parents, who work in London. She went there to give them the invitation herself, but it seems she came back empty-handed. Well, I know her parents are busy, but from their family photos, they always seemed like a happy family. All right, take your time, I said as she hugged me even tighter, her sobs growing louder. Chapter 15, Chapter 14. Walking through the hallway, I carried a glass of water and milk for Rita. She was still crying a little in her room, but I had to get her motivated because the party was starting in an hour. The party was also a social event, where the guests related to Ainsworth's business partners would attend with their kids, who also go to the same school as Rita and me. Meaning, cancelling the event when some guests have already arrived would be rude. So, Mr. James, her grandpa, wanted me to cheer her up. Rita, I'm coming in. The door wasn't latched properly, so when I pushed it slightly, I could see her lying on the bed. Drink some water or maybe some fresh milk will cheer you up. What about some ice cream? I place it on top the table beside her bed. I'm not a kid, so water is fine, thank you. She sat up on the bed and took the water instead of the milk. Anyway, it was my first time seeing her in this state. What are you doing standing there like that? She asked, patting the bed beside her. I sat next to her, and suddenly she leaned her head on my shoulder. Hey, can I ask you something? She was clingy now, but I understood her emotional state and let her be. Why do you need my permission? Because it's important. Okay, go ahead. There was a moment of silence before she continued, unlike my parents, you'll always be by my side, right? Did they do something bad to you? And no, it's just, they rarely come home or pay attention to me. I've been working hard to meet their expectations, and at least I want them to be here. I sighed. I won't badmouth your parents. They're also working hard to support you. But today is my birthday. As an adult, I could understand her parents. The world is chaotic now. The stock market crashed, and a recession is looming, which will only make them busier. But in the end, Rita is still a child, even though she's more mature than others her age. With just a bit of reasoning, I believe she'll understand. Just bear with it, Rita. I know you're smart enough to understand it. I do. I know my parents are working hard for the family. I just miss them sometimes and hope they would come because today is important. I really wanted to see Mommy and tell her how annoying the girls at school are because of Charles. It's so frustrating. If I didn't have friends like Mashiro and you, I'd have to endure every day with a fake smile all day. As I said before, she's not that naive. Her environment forces her to act like an adult, but in the end, a kid is still a kid. So, what's your answer? Will you stay by my side? I sighed. All right. Look at me. She turned around, smirking at me with her tear-stained eyes. You expect me to believe those apathetic words? Say it properly. I'll stay by your side. Happy now, princess? Hehe, it's a promise. Dash. I've somehow managed to motivate Rita again. I'm not trying to take credit for it. I think she handled it well. I watched her here the whole time, except when she was getting dressed and finally it's time. Hey, what do you think? Am I pretty? Standing in front of me, Rita is wearing a light blue dress. The makeup artist applied some light makeup and did her hair too. Yeah, good for you. Hey? I think the line should be, it suits you, you're pretty, my lady, right? Anyway, why are you wearing a servant's uniform? Rita is probably referring to the white suit I'm wearing. I'm wearing something similar as the other employees. Remember? My job as a butler ends tomorrow morning. Right. But I think you should change your clothes for this occasion. Because, you're my guest too. I'm inviting you to my party, right? I raise an eyebrow. Really? I didn't receive any invitation though. You mean I forgot to add you and Mashiro to the list. I swear, I really just forgot, please don't hate me. Rita says, looking a little worried. Oh no. I just wanted to tease her a little, but her mental state is still too sensitive. No, it was just a joke. That said, you already assumed I'd come to the party, right? Ha ha ha. Take it easy. I say, patting her head. Honestly, I don't know how to cheer kids up, so I just laugh like All Might does. Right. I reach into my suit pocket. Here. Happy birthday. It's just a small box, simply wrapped in something I don't even know the name of, but it hides the present well. With sparkling eyes, Rita takes it and tears it open without hesitation. It's a watch. Thank you. What I gave her is a simple, inexpensive watch. I was thinking of buying something more expensive, but then again, I'm just an 11-year-old boy. Buying a 5 grand watch for a school friend's birthday? Nah, that's too much for me, and for her. But, somehow, after my gift, Rita seems even more cheerful. Wait, you're wearing it already? She looks at me and frowns. Of course. It's something you gave me, so of course I have to wear it. What? You don't like it? Seeing it paired with her expensive dress is like putting caviar on top of a McDonald's burger. Wait. You're right. I should keep it safe in case someone steals it while I'm distracted. Who the heck would be interested in that watch? Well, it's cheap but it's good quality. Wait, what? She has a safe behind her wardrobe? I watch as she carefully places my gift inside the tight safe, which locks with a loud clacking sound. That's overkill. Rita sighs in relief, all right. Clearly no longer worried about it getting stolen. Chapter 16. Walking through the hallway toward the main hall of the manor. Beside me, I could feel Rita's stare. Now, what should I do to get her to dance with Charles? After all, I promised to help him before. Then again, I think, I know where this is going. Rita might like me as a man. However, it's biased. She might just be feeling lonely, and that's it. I just hope Charles will conquer this girl's heart. We arrive at the large door leading to the main hall. Two men stand on either side, ready to open it if Rita wishes to enter. You should wear something more appropriate as a guest. Go, I'll be waiting here, she says. No, I reply, glancing at my watch. At 7 p.m., which is 45 seconds from now, your guests will expect you to walk through this door. That said, you should on time. You don't want your guests bad-mouthing your family, right? Rita still looks uncertain, but her expression shows she knows I'm right. Okay. Go change your suit and wait for me inside so I can find you. I simply nod. Roger that, and good luck. Hearing this, she sighs in relief and smiles at me. Thank you, she says, turning her back as the men beside the doors open them, and a blinding light slowly pours through. Dash. After changing my suit, I entered the hall through another door. Inside the hall with its marble floor, guests in expensive dresses mingled as music played in the background. However, the hall was a bit dark as the lights focused on the center. I recognized the music immediately. It was the same instrumental piece Rita and I used when she was practicing her dance with me. So, they've already started. It makes sense since I'm late after having to change my suit. Walking through the crowd of guests, I noticed most of them were adults, they watching their children dance in the center of the hall. I assumed Rita's partner was Charles. Even my height is 161 centimeters, I still couldn't see much from the back, so I walked upstairs to the second floor. Thankfully, there were only a few people here. Looking down, I had a much better view, and there they were, Rita in her light blue dress, dancing with Charles in a black suit. I chuckled. This is so British that it makes me feel thirsty. I spotted a server with a silver platter and, recognizing him as someone I knew, he smiled and handed me a non-alcoholic champagne. As I took a sip, my eyes landed on a girl munching on something by herself at the banquet table. I walked over, and she noticed me. Mamun gulp. I'm back. Mashiro said, with leftovers on her face. Yet. How was Paris? The girl was none other than Mashiro. I used to think she was an airhead, but seeing her in this red dress, she looked completely different, much more mature. I don't like Paris. Okay. Was it fun at least? I only have fun with you and Rita. Want some cake? I sighed. No, thank you. Stop trying to shove that in my mouth. Just eat it yourself. Understood. I left Mashiro alone to enjoy her cake, which she seemed to be devouring like a mukbang session. Opening the glass door, I made my way to the balcony, a bit secluded from the rest of the guests, where the cold autumn air greeted me along with the view of the manor's grounds. Mamun. I turned around and saw Teresa, with Alexandra standing behind her. Oh, so you're here too. Of course, since we had an invitation. Unfortunately, the car that drove us here malfunctioned on the way, so we ended up being late. The event had already started, and we didn't know what to do about it. Same here, I smiled. By the way, you look great. Teresa twitched nervously and blushed a little. Is that so? Thank you, she said, shifting her shoulders shyly. I'm not judging, but what are you wearing? I looked at Alexandra. She was wearing a black suit, but that wasn't all. She also had on a black wig and blue contact lenses. Despite all that, there was no way I could forget the girl who tried to threaten me in the school men bathroom. My question made Alexandra twitch, and her expression said, "Shut up. Don't talk to me so casually." You two know each other? Teresa asked. Alexandra cleared her throat. Ahem. This is my first time meeting this gentleman. May I ask your name? Quit acting, Alexandra. How did you even get in here? Alexandra? Who's that? she stammered, while Teresa smiled nervously. Please stop. It's rude to mistake me for someone else. Well, I'm the butler of this household. I have the right to ask for your identity since it needs to match the invitation letter. What? Why you reworking for the Ainsworths? Alexandra said, surprised. Wait. Mamun, can you keep this a secret? Alec doesn't want to dance with boys, so she's dressed like this, Teresa explained. Ah. I glanced at Alexandra, who looked away. So, you're cross-dressing because of that? All right, I'll keep my mouth shut, I said, smiling as she trembled with blush, realizing I now had two of her secrets. Thank you, Mamun. You're a lifesaver. Don't mention it, Teresa. Friends should help each other, right, Alec? Why yeah, of course. I smirked at her. Alexandra was trying hard to keep her composure, but I could see her clenching her fists tightly. Just then, from inside the hall, we could hear the music picking up pace. Teresa looked away shyly. Teresa, I'm going to the restroom to fix my wig, Alexandra said, suddenly leaving us, and closed the balcony door. That's when I noticed Teresa's eyes on me, as if she was waiting. I understood what she wanted. This might be too late, but, let's dance anyway, Teresa. She took my hand, and we didn't even bother going back inside. We just danced on the balcony, following the music that played vividly in the background. However, our dance ended quickly as the music came to a close. That's too fast, what a shame. Yes, such a shame. When it starts again, do you want to come back inside with me? Teresa said with a smile. No. My turn. It was Mashiro, with food crumbs still around her mouth. Sheena, you came out of nowhere and. Teresa took out her handkerchief and wiped Mashiro's face. As a lady, you cannot eat like this. Let me help you a little. Teresa is really kind. But since the dance might have finished, I should probably find RIT. There you are. Chapter 17, Chapter 16. Suddenly, the door to the balcony opened roughly as the person who opened it barged in. There you are. At the sound of the sudden, sharp, and penetrating voice, I turned to look at Rita, whose breath was heavy. She was panting heavily, and in her eyes, I could see sadness and fear. But then she glanced to my left, her expression hardening slightly when she saw Teresa. Her gaze returned to me, clearly unhappy. Rita. Why? It wasn't just her who had come. Charles was there too, seemingly chasing after her. Teresa exclaimed nervously. Rita. Why are you so hard to find, Mamun? Why are you here? Didn't I tell you? Wait for me so I could find you, didn't I say that before? I said that right? Then why is it so hard to find you? Her tone was sharp and cold. I was waiting for you here while you were still dancing with Charles. I don't care about him. Rita interrupted. I didn't have a choice, he asked me first, and Grandpa gave his permission. I know you'll be late because you've to change. But why I didn't see you there? When I didn't find you, do you know how crazy I became? I was thinking you'd left me like my parents did. If you're angry about me dancing with Charles, I was planning to spend the rest of the party with you alone. I don't care that you're my butler. But why are you here with her instead of me, hey? I sigh, poor Charles. Furthermore, the way Rita angry at me. That's because we were both late and ended up here on the second floor by coincidence. I was hoping to see you from here because there are too many people down there. You don't have to be angry, Rita. Teresa, on the other hand, seemed to take a few steps back. Behind Rita, I noticed Alexandra and Mashiro, while a few guests had begun to take notice of the scene. Thankfully, the glass window behind us was enough to muffle Rita's voice and preventing the situation from escalating further. Rita, that's enough. Charles said, trying to calm her. Silence, Charles. Rita snapped. Why are you chasing me when you already have her as your fiancé? You should stop this, alright? I don't like you. Fiancé? I froze at Rita's sudden revelation. So, Charles is Teresa's fiancé? All this time, meanwhile, Teresa's nervous expression seemed to confirm the truth of Rita's words. Hey, I see, Rita continued. I knew she'd been hiding her real identity as the Princess of Larsenburg, but I assume you knew that, right? Grandpa said you're the youngest millionaire, a genius who doesn't rely on his family fortune. But I like you because of who you are. You are always by my side, and you promised me that. Then why? I didn't know anything about it, and it doesn't have anything to do with me being a genius. Besides, I'm not a genius. Please calm down. Liar. Rita spat. Then why are you with her instead of me? Do you think that girl is better than me just because she's a real princess? I've worked so hard to meet everyone's expectations, but why won't you look at me? Dash. A day has passed. After what happened last night, our group has become awkward. Even Rita has grown distant and is now ignoring me. This situation confuses me. I've always thought of them as good children, and sometimes, given my mental age, I see them as my niece and nephew. I knew that I'm not the past me. I've been reborn. I'm now a different person, a soon and 11 years old boy named Mamun. I'm a kid now, and yet, I've never felt any attraction toward Rita. That's impossible. Me, like Rita as a woman, it's impossible for now. Alright, folks. We're going to the schoolyard to observe nature, the teacher announced. I packed my books as everyone left the classroom. We have some kind of outdoor class today. There's a farm nearby, and the teacher wants us to study nature. For this class, the teacher formed groups of 3. I hummed, "Let's get along, shall we?" I said, noticing Teresa looking away from Rita. That's right. My group consists of me, Teresa, and Rita. Well, this is somehow even more awkward than I thought. Why yet, let's do our best. Teresa managed to say, trying to keep the mood light. Rita merely hummed in response. That's right. Teresa suddenly perked up. Mamun told me about his homeland. I really enjoyed his story. Really? Rita hummed again, coldly. Good for him. Teresa, trying to make amends for what happened yesterday, was met with a cold shoulder from Rita. I sighed. This is why I hate dealing with angry kids. I thought that, since they're just elementary students, they might be more wholesome, but they're no different from adults. Still, I'd wish for the best for all of them. The outdoor activity is just reading books outside. Thank God it isn't raining. I have trust issues with this country's weather, so why did the teacher even plan this? Currently, Teresa decided to join other to see the scenery around the school because how big it was. Beside there's football pitch, there's even a farm in school land. Hey, can we talk, Rita? What's wrong with you since yesterday? I asked. Nothing's wrong with me. I treat people like this all the time so I can protect myself. Don't worry, it was my fault for letting my guard down around you. That's right. She looked at me emotionless. I heard that you have some business with my grandpa, right? You're not using me, are you? I'm not a pity person. Clearly, Rita needs some time, and she's still angry. When the teacher put us together in the same group, it was clearly the wrong time to meet. I never tried to do that. The reason I have a business with him is my skill. You're my friend, Rita. Hey, about what you said last night. Ah, that one. I was caught up in the moment. In fact, I always hate someone like you. You're just like my parents. You know everything about me while I don't know a single thing about you. From now on, please don't talk to me so casually. Rita said, then opened her book. Okay, just talk to me again when you want it. There's no responded, she completely ignored me. Well, if she wants to resolve it this way, I won't force her. I opened my notebook and checked my to-do list for the upcoming meeting with a potential sponsor in New York. According to the schedule, I'll be flying out on Friday. From Saturday to Monday, I have meetings lined up with 4 corporations. Since I'm a minor, Uncle Nick and Grandpa will be accompanying me. Money is crucial in this sport. Formula One requires at least $150 million for next season. With me here, I can provide Braun GP with what they lacked before. In my past life, Braun GP's shortcomings were time and money, and I'm trying to address that flaw now. On the other hand, getting in touch with potential sponsors gives me the chance to build relationships. After all, I need a significant amount of money for my own investment plans. As for how this will affect my attendance at school, it won't be an issue. This school allows students like Mashiro to skip classes as long as it's for important matters. Hey! I think I found a rabbit hole. Teresa called to both of us from a distance. Suddenly, Rita stood up with her books and walked off somewhere. I noticed Charles looking in her direction and look at with concern. Honestly, they're bright kids. Mashiro and Rita are geniuses in their own right. Charles is a bright guy, he has a lot potential. Charles has a talent for handling women, and Rita is still young, she'll probably grow to like him over time. Mamun, hurry up. Teresa called again. All right, I'm coming, I responded. I stood up and walked over to Teresa. Rabbit hole? Where? I stopped beside her as she pointed at it and touched the hole. Look. I think it's really a rabbit hole, right? Look, there's even a. Watch out. Chapter 18, Chapter 17. Third POV. When she heard Mamun say she could talk to him again if she wanted, Rita began to think that what she had said or do was too much. In the first place, she knew it wasn't his fault. The fact was, she had vented her anger on him for no reason because she was being selfish and self-centered. It was her, in fact, who forced her feelings on him. She knew that Mamun must have felt uncomfortable, having to endure the backlash of her anger. Thankfully, last night's commotion could be hidden from the other guests. However, she hurt others because of her pathetic anger. She humiliated Charles, Teresa, and Mamun that night. And then, she hurt Mamun after all he had done for her when she needed someone that night. She even made some ridiculous wish and took advantage of Mamun's silliness, knowing that he'd do anything. She bothered him for 4 days, even though she knew how busy he was. After everything she had done to him, he still said she could talk to him later. She had these thoughts as she came back from the restroom to where the outdoor class was, but she wondered what kind of face she should show after all that had happened. But then, she noticed things had become noisy. As she walked on the grass to where her class was, she saw the teachers looking busy and panicked, with cries filling the air. And why was there an ambulance and a fire truck there? Her classmates were sitting together while someone was checking their health, as if something bad had happened. When Mashiro saw Rita walking over, she rushed to her, hugging her and crying. What happened? Mashiro didn't say anything, just hugged her tighter and sobbing. Rita, are you okay? Charles asked, concerned. What's going on here? Her previous thoughts were erased by the situation. Seeing that Rita was okay, Charles felt relieved, but his face turned sour again. When she heard that Mamun had been rushed to the hospital, and that he was in critical condition, her heart sank. He had been attacked by a colony of dangerous wasps during the outdoor class. He had been protecting Teresa, covering her with his jacket, while hundreds of wasps stung and bit him. Still on the same day, the class was disbanded. In fact, the whole school had been sterilized after the horrifying accident where several students were attacked by an aggressive colony of wasps, known as yellow jackets. The colony had been underground where the outdoor class took place, and perhaps by accident, their nest had been disturbed. 2 students had been injured. One of them was only stung once, around the feet. However, it was thanks to another student who had protected her. In the hospital room, seeing Teresa so sorry, Rita, Mashiro, Alexandra, and Charles stood there in silence, unable to speak. I'm sorry. It was my fault this happened. I mistook it for a rabbit hole, but it wasn't. Sniff. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Rita. He protected me because I was scared. But I know he shouldn't have protected me. It should have been me, Rita. I should be the one in his place now. Teresa had only a few scratches from the wasps. She hadn't lost consciousness or been stung hundreds of times like Mamun. However, she still seemed to be traumatized, having seen him in that state. Outside the hospital, the storm has been going on since the morning. It's been 24 hours. There's still no indication of when he will wake up. Rita and others didn't go to school, as it had been closed for a week due to the accident. Walking in the hospital hall with coffee for Grandpa Hakiro. They both had been waiting at the hospital since morning, hoping for news. What do you mean she won't come? Your son is in critical condition, and she won't come? Give the phone to my daughter, Minoru. A mother deserves to know what is going on with her son. Rita hid as she overheard Grandpa Hakiro furiously speaking on the phone. He was talking in Japanese, but she understood it because she had been learning it diligently. What is happening? And what had happened to Mamun and his family? You bastard! He has Makab in his name, but you can't change his DNA. He's my grandson, not my son. Even if you kicked him out of your family, he still deserves his mother's care in this situation. Minoru. TCH. Hearing this, Rita began to wonder, is this the reason why Mamun lived with his grandfather here in England? Ah, Rita. Looking up, she saw Grandpa Hakiro looking at her before he sighed. I'm sorry you had to hear that shameful side of me. Thank you for the coffee, Rita. Why yes. So, Mamun's situation was actually worse than hers. Then why did he always seem okay? Why did he keep that composed face all the time? Is that why he worked so hard despite his age? As she sat there thinking, she remembered the last thing she had said to him, that she hated someone like him. But what if he hated her now? After what happened at her birthday party, she hadn't even apologized to him. She had only made things worse by saying even more hurtful things the previous day. She wanted to say sorry. She regretted it all. She wanted to talk to him again. Chapter 19, Chapter 18. There was a boy. He leaned back against the hospital bed, his body wrapped in bandages after a horrific accident. After all, he had 364 stings, bites, and marks all over his body. But it wasn't something ridiculous like 364 love bites from women. No, these marks came from yellow jacket wasps. That boy was me. What? I'm trying to elaborate my situation. Back then, I had no choice. There's no nearby water like river. And Teresa was fell and freeze, so I covering her with my jacket as hundreds of wasps attacked me. Yeah, the hole wasn't a rabbit hole, it was a yellow jacket wasp underground nest. But still, it makes sense since the school is that big and maybe no one who find it before. I've a thought, should I filed a lawsuit? I was unlucky. I lost my consciousness for one day after the incident happened. Sniff. I am so sorry. I'm sorry. Teresa cried, her sobs filling the room. Teresa had been crying for I don't even know how long. There, you're not hurt, right? I asked softly. Heck. No. I'm not, thanks to you, Teresa said, wiping her tears away. Just then, the door to my hospital room slid open. In came Rita and Mashiro. Hold on, Mashi, I screamed, freaking out as Mashiro ran toward my bed and jumped on me. She was smaller than me, but in that moment from my point of view, it felt like the rock was leaping straight at me. Dash. Recently, Rita always come to visit me. She seems to be regretting what she said to back then. But, I was never bothered by it. Teresa too. She's always come when visiting our just like Rita. Also, this accident make them getting along together. For the information, after Mashiro jumped at me, she was banned from visiting me. That kid didn't hold back slightly after seeing me awake. You know, Rita, it might be better for you to stop making that face. Rita visited me again at the hospital where I was being treated. But I said those horrible things to you. I'm the worst, Rita muttered, her voice fading. Judging by the dark circles under her eyes, it was obvious she hadn't been sleeping well. Well, I really don't think much about what happened in the past. The important thing is, did you make up with the others too? She nodded weakly, I did. Good, then stop making that face. You know, it'll affect my recovery speed if someone as gloomy as you is nearby. Then, I'll just go home. No, just stay there. Rita sat back down when I said that. Then, I suddenly hummed aloud. Feed me that grape over there. Okay, please wait. I changed my mind. Peel that apple for me. Okay, it'll take time, but I'll do it right away. No, the grape is fine. Right, here, open your mouth AAA. What the heck? This prideful kid, who the hell is she? She didn't complain whatever I was playing with her or anything. Knock. Knock. Excuse me, Mamun. I brought some fresh fruit. The voice belonged to Teresa. She stopped in the doorway when she saw Rita. Ahaha. I'll just drop off the fruit, then. Suddenly, Rita stood up from the chair beside me and walked over to Teresa. Please help feed him the grapes so I can peel the apple. Grapes? Okay. Leave it to me, Teresa said with a confident look on her face. I just lay down my back as I watch them. Seems really corporate in this matter. So, my unfortunate fate has become a peace treaty between these princess. Call me a peacemaker from now on. Oh, that's right, Mamun. My parents sent this letter for you. They say they're sorry and won't be able to visit you again. But, if you're okay with it, they'd like to invite you to Larsenburg when you recover someday. Oh, right. This morning, I got a call from Teresa's father, thanking me for saving his daughter. He also wanted to make up for what I've done in the past and, in the future, invited me to his palace. Yeah, Teresa is a real princess in the modern age. I see. Well, I understand their situation. Don't worry about it. Really? Thank you. She said, smiling warmly. Did you want the apple now? Rita asked, making Teresa flinch in surprise. Sure, I replied, and she took a seat on my right, feeding me apple slices while Teresa, sitting on my left, fed me grapes. This situation. At first, I was joking about it, but Rita took it seriously and actually started feeding me the fruit. Knock. Knock. I'll get the door. Please wait, Teresa said as she walked over. She's really handy. Besides, her personality suggests she'll become a decent person in the future. It's me, Teresa. Ah, Alec. You're just in time. Oh, it's Alexandra. How are you feeling, Mamun? Feeling better? She asked with a smile. Yeah, thanks for asking. Yes. She's smiling at me. At first, she was really wary and vigilant around me. But after I saved Teresa from the Yellow Jacket Army, she started treating me differently. I'd say she's looking at me with respect. Just look at how her eyes sparkle when she looks at me. Alec. Right, Your Highness. It's the first time she's behaved that way in front of Teresa. Hold on. Hey, what the hell are you doing? It was so sudden. Alexandra just dropped her head to the floor in a perfect doxa. Forgive me, Mamun, for my inappropriate behavior. I locked you inside the men's toilet and threatened you. But I realize now that you're a truly noble person. It should have been me who got stung, but you protected Teresa without hesitation. I regret it. You can rough me up if you want. What was that last part about? I glanced at Teresa. Did this weeb teach her that? She confessed to me about what happened, so I'm furious. Humph. Teresa said, her face twisted in anger. First, stop with the doxa thing, I said. That doxa. Teresa must have told her to do that. What? You locked him in the men's toilet? Rita asked, looking at Alexandra in disbelief. For what reason? When she asked, Alexandra straightened up and nervously replied, actually, I went inside the restroom when I knew he was there. I see. Rita said, then stabbed a slice of apple with a fork rather aggressively. So, you followed him into the boys' toilet. I sighed. Hey, don't make a scene here. She already apologized. I guess you're right. I'm sorry. What the heck is going on with Rita? She's now listening to whatever I say. Anyway, my days in the hospital continue with the girls feeding me like this. Is this okay? I mean, Rita and Teresa are technically princesses, and I'm making them do chores. Clack. How is your condition, brao? What a sight to behold. I look at the person who came inside my room without knocking first. It was my grandpa. He came back with the milk and a smirk on his face. You bastard. You let them feed you like a baby now. Comment. 20 comment. Vote. Chapter 20, Chapter 19. What I believe. Working hard to earn a living is something I must do because I don't trust luck to bring me a success. While mostly, something crap happen all the time. Getting bitten and stung 300 times by something as dangerous as yellow jacket wasps is just another example of how things go wrong quickly, because mainly, the world doesn't revolve around me nor does it give a shit about my tiny existence. I could have run, but Teresa was frozen in place. I chose to protect her and I'm not regret it. Poor her. She must still be traumatized from seeing me back then, but as for me, I'm the man who once died before was mentally prepared. Oof. It's getting cold out there. Hey, what do you think you're doing? My grandpa walked in just as I was trying to stand up on my feet. He gently pushed me back onto the hospital bed. Are you nuts? Didn't I tell you already? You almost lost your life, Mamun, he said, sitting down beside me with a disappointed look. As the world keeps spinning, I've been lying in this bed for 3 days now. There's a flight I need to catch. I have to go, Gramps. We need sponsors for the team, I insisted. With your condition? You can't even stand to pee, let alone fly to New York, he replied, pouring some plain milk into a small glass. Even if it's a $100 million business trip, just stay. What he said wasn't exaggerated. The doctors told me I had been just 5 minutes away from death. The only things I felt were burning pain, swelling all over my body, and an allergic reaction as the result of the venom. Still, there's a reason why I need to work even harder. When I was unconscious, I dreamt of Chinitsuo and my mother. I don't understand what's behind my reincarnation, but after surviving this near-death experience, something changed. It feels like my soul and Masamun's have united, or maybe we've just become one. I can remember his memories more clearly now, and I feel his emotions as if they were mine. I don't want this, but I can't control this phenomenon. I see. Grandpa said, understanding the weight of my words. He knew how horrible it was to be kicked out of the family. Being born into a wealthy family with an abusive, patriarchal father, I know, he thought he could just throw me away and make new babies. I still remember how tightly my mother hugged me before she left me under Grandpa's care, and I can never forget my sister's tears. Damn it! I never wanted this, but I can't help feeling furious now. Did you know why that man was able to erase the fact that I was his son? Gramps sighed. There's one family that has been backing Hayes for the past 30 years, the Zaibatsu, Shinomiya family. They've spread corruption among the police, the judges, and the entire government. If you ask, who controls Japan from behind the scenes, it's them. There's even a rumor that if this family were to collapse, then the whole Japan's economy would follow. I hummed. So that's why my mother couldn't get a divorce. He nodded. Your father couldn't risk anything when your mother knows everything about his secret. When they have the judges on their side, what can you do anyway? In your case, altering something like family register? It was too easy. They can do whatever they want, like breathing the air. That's why I couldn't do anything about it. What's the term for that? I said, oligarchy. Ha ha ha, Gramps chuckled, that's correct, Masamun. I see. Now it all makes sense. Getting up from my bed, I sat there, turning my body and face Grandpa. Gramps, just let me go. This is my only wish. If I don't do it, I feel like there won't be a tomorrow. Sure, spending time in the hospital with pretty nurses is nice, but I'd rather go, even if my body is falling apart like this, even there's 1% change, I'll take it. He paused for a moment, then sighed deeply. A man's pride, fine, I like it. Ha 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 ha. However, he seems agree that easy. Okay, but I wouldn't recommend traveling on a commercial flight, sir. The doctor said, a disapproval on her face. We would like to charter private jet to avoid risk that will trigger his safety document. I see, then I'm going to make exception. However, once you landed, please head to St. Joseph for medical checkup. Thank you. After that, with the doctor consent, I discharged from the hospital with a wheelchair. You don't want to call your friend first? I hummed, no, we don't have time for that. I'll just text them. Dash. What is wrong with WN lately, honestly, like come on. While I don't have problem with translation FIC but they use steroids called bout brew. Anyway, give me that stones for double chapter.
Thanks for listening.